Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I have here Miss Dorothy Meindok, and she is an advocate for veterans. And even though I'm not a veteran myself, I have family and friends who are. So this is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I don't feel like we do enough for our veterans. And so, Dorothy, just tell us a little bit about you.
Well, hi, I'm Dorothy. I am a United States Navy veteran. I served in the first Gulf War in 1989 through 1992. I was on an ammunitions carrier called it was named the USS Mount Hood, AE-29. We were ported out of Concord, California, Naval Weapons Station, which is San Francisco Bay Area. That meant usually, unless there was a reason for us to be at the weapons station, we were at Alameda and Treasure Island and Hunters Point and all of those other places in the Bay Area. And I loved that part of my life. It was great. Fell in love with the United States military warriors. And of course, being one, it's carried over. So I agree with you. I don't think we do enough for our veterans at all. I believe everybody wants to, but I think there's a lot of stuff in the in-between, a lot of misuse, mismanagement, things of that nature that defeat the purpose of the mission to help and support our veterans, get them off the streets from homelessness. And so I ended up becoming a lawyer, and that's what I do. I work for veterans, whether it's for chocolate chip cookies or whatever, anything I can do to put a smile on their face and help them and their families. That's what I try to do with my life.
So the veterans that we do have out there that are homeless, and a lot of them suffering from different mental disabilities after, especially seeing combat.
Yes.
What do you think that we can do to help get them off the streets?
The first thing I think that we should do, and please understand, I'm not trying to attack the VA, but we need to help her meet her mission. As community leaders, as school teachers, as everyone, we're all connected to a veteran in one way or another. And so we need to have community collaboration to help VA meet her mission. She's got a lot of mismanagement. There's been a lot of corruption. We've gone from administration to administration to administration, and they've changed out our leadership over and over again. And then some of our leadership is determined by who's in the office. And that's not a bad thing because they're all there for the right purpose. But there are those same political problems that the nation has seen when we do that, because when everybody doesn't get along, all of them, right and left, who doesn't matter, they don't normally transition very easy, which is the exact problem that we're having with our veterans, the transition between active duty lifestyle and being a veteran. And so we've got a lot of people all across the nation that are veterans that are working on those kinds of transition programs, those nonprofits. We're all trying to help VA meet her mission. And I think that the nation is starting to look at that and understand it better. And I think that's why people like you are able to bring these kinds of awarenesses, because what we need to do is just really, like the Beatles said, we need to come together right here, right now, and not over me, but over veterans. And if you look at it, you're connected to a veteran in some way, somehow. You work with one, you have them in your family, they're your best friend, they're the guy you knew you know, when you were in high school and he was in ROTC. I mean, all of those things. And so my thing is that we're the microcosm of America. And because we represent, when you look at the population of veterans, you see that we are all colors, all creeds, all religions, all sexual orientations, thoughts and processes, all of it. We cover the gambit, and we're a small trackable database, right? We really are. And I think that's why a lot of people have misused that in terrible Joseph Mengele type of experimentations. I think those are the problem people. And then, you know, we can use that same data research for good. We can look at things like PTSD, which our nation is probably facing a lot of now post COVID-19, regardless of how you feel about it. Seeing your loved ones, your neighbors, and people like that die affects you, right? And so go back to the veteran population and look at all of the studies we've done in PTSD care and awareness, and let's learn from that. And I really believe that by healing our veterans, by healing our VA, that we will be able to show a better model to not just our own countrymen, but to the entire world as to how to heal ourselves, because it's a big issue. And the way that we're treating them now is a reflection of how we're going to end up ourselves as a society. And I just don't believe that we deserve that. They don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. We're better than that. We're Americans. Come on.
Yeah.
We can do better. And this isn't just an American issue. Let me tell you, this is a warrior issue for the entire world. And so it's a really big lesson to be learned, and America can lead the way. We've got, you know, French disabled veterans setting themselves on fire in front of their VA administrations. We've got them in Australia protesting, all over the world. And so, you know, let's step forward and let's do the right things and be America and lead the way like we always have, and show the world that we can do this, and that we are the society we have always said we were, despite all the other chaos.
Right. You know, being that I was a supervisor, and mind you, it was at the city level, I did get to see how government works on that level, as far as like the budgets and how they spend money. And each department, you had X amount of money, and if you didn't spend it all at a certain time, then the next budget come around, they would take that money away from you, and they say, oh, you really don't need it. And then eventually you do need it. So you would spend money on ridiculous things just to spend the money. And
I believe that that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that too.
It's very much true. You know,
Yes.
there's no reason that a supervisor needs a new truck once a year. You know what I mean?
I do understand that. And I think that goes into commercial contracts where probably or possibly they have to do that because somehow it brings the dealership money or something of that nature.
Well, it's mostly
it's
they
wasteful.
spending the money. They have to spend the money, or they won't get that money the next.
Oh, so it's not like a lease or anything.
No. You have to spend that money or you lose it, you know, and you have to justify why you need to keep that budget at a certain level. And I think it was Ron Paul, I believe, puts out the list of government spending, and it's for absolutely ridiculous research, sending money to other countries for ridiculous research. I mean, you know, there's another country that needs help, you know, needs help, they food or whatever that it is that they need, I got no problem.
Humanitarian aid is completely different from all the other stuff.
But
right,
you know, to test, you know, how fast a snail can get from one end of a plate to the other is something you don't need to spend $10 million on. And
I have to agree with you.
You know, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, there's some pretty ridiculous things that I saw on that list. And all these different politicians, you hear them say, oh, I want to do so much for our veterans and thank God for our veterans and blah, 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 blah. But yet we're sending money to stupid research that we don't need.
Right.
And you still, I go into Austin and you've got, homeless people with drug problems and,
Absolutely.
financial problem, but you've got a lot of veterans out there and they can't cope coming back to regular life anymore.
No, the transition is difficult.
I don't understand why we can't spend the money on helping veterans or homeless in general. Get them off the streets.
I agree with you. I have to say, I know that the federal budgetary system is like that. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, if you've got to spend all this money, instead of spending so much money on denials and hiring more people to shift the same work burden to another overwhelmed piece of the unit, or whatever they decide to do with it, why not just give veterans their benefits and allow them to be able to move forward, right?
Why don't they put it back into the VA hospitals?
That would be nice, but VA has a 30% vacancy rate right now for employment. And it's because of the broken wheel. It's because they hire, sometimes, not all of the doctors that are there like this. Please understand I'm saying that.
Oh, yeah.
What I am saying is some of the guys that can't get malpractice insurance anymore, they can't afford it because their premiums are too high because they've been doing whatever they've been doing in their private practice. All these kinds of people can lose their medical license. And even though it's against federal law to be hired, the VA will hire them because they're in great need of doctors, because we have a huge population. We've got an even bigger one coming now that's going to be signing up post-Afghanistan withdrawal. And we're at a 30% vacancy rate at our Veterans Administration already. What is there are some of the people keeping away that 30%. There are a lot of people that in medical schools and things across the country, that's not the place they want to end up right now. And the reason is because scuttlebutt, right? When you're inside of an organization or an industry, there's a scuttlebutt. And in the Navy, that's where y'all meet around the water cooler and everybody talks about what's going on, right?
Right.
And the scuttlebutt is VA healthcare is not up to par. It is absolutely mismanaged. It is in disarray. There is corruption in all levels, and it's really, really bad. So our young superstars are not wanting to run over there and do their duty. Some of our veterans who are veterans and are becoming doctors or who are doctors don't want to touch the place. I think it would break their hearts, number one. Number two, there are instances where people who are veterans who've worked at these types of work culture environments, because they seem to be a lot of times local, right? Localized. And, they stand up for veterans, the system, the rules, the law. They get gaslit, harassed, and they just say, see ya, and the same thing with regular veterans with healthcare, with claims. They go in, they follow all the processes, they follow all the rules, and things get lost, destroyed, we can't find it. All these different excuses that every bureaucracy seems to give. And at the same time, though, the only person that gets blamed for any of it 9 times out of 10 is going to be the veteran. Whether it is, a reflection of, they after the 5th time that their stuff has been lost and they're talking on the phone and they say something like, well, they're veterans, like, what the fuck, and then the other person on the line states, oh, well, you don't talk to me this way. And in the file goes combative veteran. Nothing about the fact that they said the word fuck because you lost their shit 5 times, right? None of that's there. but just the combative veteran. And so then, just like that Seinfeld episode of Elaine running around trying to get her medical record, it's a lot like that. It's a lot like that, but in a huge, huge, huge different level, because we're not talking about just Elaine getting her feelings hurt at the doctor's office, right? We're talking about decades of that treatment over and over within a closed system with no way out, and mental health things on the line, your body falling apart from the inside, people with neuropathy, 30-year-olds with arthritis like 70-year-olds because they've jumped out of parachutes. They've parachuted out of a plane or a helicopter 400 times. It's really, really hard. So then they're going back and talking to persons that couldn't make it in the private sector, couldn't get malpractice insurance, all of these different reasons, but they're in our VA system. And now they're pretty much bulletproof, right? Because no matter which way that goes, they make mistake after mistake after mistake. A veteran has only a few recourses for medical malpractice. And you should look up the Bryan-Talley Act regarding that, as well as the fact that once you get to the end of the line and you do get into the court system, what you then have is your own countrymen with tax dollars in the Department of Justice that have to then defend the United States of America, not the doctors that are causing the problems or the administrators or whoever, not the people doing the malpractice. They're shielded by sovereign immunity. So our tax dollars then get wasted in shielding them from sovereign immunity so that tax dollars are not having to be given to the veteran in recompense for malpractice through the United States of America. And wow, what a system. If you're a person that doesn't want to work, just happens to have a medical degree for whatever reasons, and I mean, you've got carte blanche. Do what you want because you're protected. You won't be fired. You won't get sued for your assets personally. None of that stuff. So that's just one piece of the puzzle that's broken. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that's broken at the VA, and there are people who are striving very, very hard to fix that. It's going to take a lot more communication and a lot less online forms.
Yeah.
A lot more face-to-face talks, a lot more awareness. And so thanks for having me on here to talk to you today.
Oh yeah, of course. It's more than just throwing money at a problem too.
Absolutely.
You need better supervision.
Yes.
The guidelines need to change.
Well, you actually need to have somebody there who takes that position, who isn't there for their paycheck or their retirement.
They need to care.
Right. They need to understand VA's mission. If they don't understand the VA population, they don't understand veterans, they possibly shouldn't be there. Some veterans are very kind on one day, and then after a while, however, they're not. They're human, just like everyone else. And yet, if they express any anger, in which they have a lot of, in any way, they're escorted around the hospital with an armed police officer because they express their anger at the fact that probably, and most likely, it's been the third or fourth time they've tried to get into that clinic. And now it's been 9 months, and then they showed up, and in one instance, finally, the Marine showed up for mental health, checked in. They kept calling another person's name, went to the counter, said, hey, my appointment was 15 minutes ago. The letter says, if I'm not seen in 15 minutes to see you. Well, we've been calling you. Nobody's called my name. They had mixed up appointments. And even though the Marine checked in with identification, they checked in the wrong person. Then they were calling that name and that Marine was there. The Marine was there for the first time to get mental health after a long struggle of trying to get that Marine into mental health. So they still had the hour open, right? Just the wrong name. Now we know the big mystery, right? We made a mistake. We scheduled the wrong social security number, but the Marine is still standing right in front of you and you still have that hour open. Guess what they did?
Oh, they must turn him away.
They turned this Marine away, rescheduled them, and the Marine went out to the car. Thank God was not one that killed themselves over that issue, but just the veteran intervention, veteran brothers and sisters intervened and went and picked that Marine up and took care of that situation. But it should never have happened. First off, all of that chaos. And then just most recently, we had a Vietnam veteran and his wife show up at an appointment that took 45 minutes to get to. Their transportation was great. They got picked up, they got dropped off at the location, but guess what? The doctor didn't show up. They waited because they had transportation. The transportation was scheduled to pick them up 2.5 hours later. So they sat outside of the doctor's office, locked door, for 2.5 hours until they got their return home. Now, these are 75-year-old and up, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so then on top of that, that doctor didn't report that he was the no-show. He reported that the veteran and the wife was the no-show, because otherwise he doesn't get paid for it, right? And on top of that, what's sinister even further than that is that in that type of an appointment, if for compensation and pension to get benefits, right? Not just a regular doctor appointment,
Right.
but to get benefits, it's very essential. If you're there for the first time, or you're there because the VA has decided to re-examine you, or you have requested re-examination because you think it's gotten worse, if you don't show up to those appointments, they have the legal ability to change your benefits, to sever your benefits in some cases, and absolutely to deny your benefits. And so if you've been waiting to see this appointment to get your benefits, and it finally got here, and it's been a year, and you showed up and the doctor didn't, and he just wants to get paid, a whole bunch of problems can start.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and so the VA is not in it all by themselves. They're dealing with sinister people as well, inside of the organization, outside of the organization. And so cleaning up the VA, that's what needs to be done. It absolutely needs to be done.
Well, and I mean this, no disrespect to anyone that present or past in the military, but
Absolutely.
they take these people, they practically train them like a guard dog.
Yes, sir.
Say,
they do.
go get them, go get them, go get them. And then when they get back into civilian life, and then they're faced with these frustrations, how do they not expect them to not get aggressive? I mean, how do you expect them to not get aggressive in that situation? You've been training them to be aggressive all this time, and then they're supposed to shut it off like that?
No, and then that's one of the things that I've brought up that have I think, angered some people in some of my arguments, because as a lawyer, what I'm stating to them is this: if I'm talking to you about this veteran's mental health, right? I'm telling you that you made them, right? You made this warrior. You sent them over there to wherever for whatever purpose. I'm not arguing any of that. That's all chaos to distract from the central argument, which is you made these people and these warriors, you trained them, you sent them to war, you sent them back, stop loss, stop loss, stop loss, because you're a good warrior. We need you. We need you to kick down more doors. Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely wholehearted. A light in their heart because they think and they feel that they're doing a service to their country.
Exactly.
No questions asked. right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they come home and just like you said, all of a sudden, everything's their fault. And all of these different little systematic breakdowns, and some of them that are purposeful, and sadly, in some cases, you know, you expect them to be Deepak Chopra about the situation. They don't know how to do that.
Well,
Their transition, you're part of the transition, y'all, to teach them how to become better at civilian world, because they're still door kickers here. And so they're trying to be good. They're trying to be yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. But by the fifth time, or by the time that they really need your help, and you get somebody who looks up at them. By the way, one of the responses to that senior citizen couple with the 2.5 hour no-show appointment, one of the responses that they received was they were sorry that it was sorry that happened to them, but it wasn't that person's problem. Okay, so when that comes up like that, right? And that was a VA contractor, that was not the VA proper. But regardless, when something like that comes up and you are a 28-year-old dude that just got back from like who knows where, and let's just say Afghanistan, right? You're already upset about that. The world is in the state that it's in, and that's your answer on a really something that he's probably been working on for weeks to get to the appointment, so he can just get through it and talk about this stuff and get it over with, so he can get the help he needs. And he gets that answer. Probably an expletive is coming out of his mouth at the very least, y'all. Not because he's dangerous, but that's just who he is. And how do you expect anything different?
Right.
How do you expect anything different?
You're going to get that from just civilians. Sometimes people get aggravated because they have to wait an extra 5 minutes in line at the bank. How do you expect these
but they don't
folks to
get
feel?
escorted around by armed police guards now whenever they go to get their blood pressure taken. Mm-hmm. And it follows them everywhere. It follows them into the civilian community. It goes in all of these records and watch lists and all this stuff. And it's like, wait a minute. We're the suspects in our own country. That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Absolutely ridiculous. Presently, I'm dealing with a veteran who was arrested for being on VA property a little too early and falling asleep in the car. What? I mean, I don't really understand.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
yes,
you've got folks that have gone into the military. They do exactly what they're told. They fall in line, and then they get treated like that when they come out. That pisses me off.
And that's not the way the VA wants to be. It's not the way. It's not the VA that I experienced. I had a lot of troubles in my own case. Those were all particular to me. However, when I think I just fell upon some angels, and I left my VA experience of several years when I decided to go to college and to become at one time a medical scientist, which I did, and practiced for a few years, and then I went into law school. But on that set off journey that I experienced in Palo Alto, California, ironically at the exact same hospital where one who flew over the cuckoo's nest was. So yay, Jack, right? But anyway, so I'm sitting there, and that was a turning point in my life for my own traumas. And it was there that I learned that there was nothing wrong with me. I was reacting exactly properly to all of the traumas that I had been experienced. And so that switch in my head and the support that I got from everyone that I met was amazing and really helped to shape me. And I thought that was, I still think that's the same exact level of care and experience and support that each and every veteran deserves. Everyone deserves to be whatever they dream to be. And just because they have, you know, the tag veteran, the tag PTSD, the tag, you know, combat crazy, whatever. Those are your labels. They're not the labels. And we're absolutely, again, wasting our resources. Think about this. We have got a force of all of these people that have returned from Afghanistan that are going to become veterans. Their level of technical knowledge, their level of on the ground management and leadership is phenomenal. Do you just want to throw that all away? Or do you want to help them get better, transition, and let them be the superstars that they are, and bring that back into the American economy, the American academia, the American workforce? Don't you want that instead? We're throwing away all of those, and in some cases, millions upon millions of training dollars for each and every person in human resources. We're just throwing it away by trying to drug them up with whether it was opioids or over medicating psychiatric pills or whatever, and trying to completely disable them when there are programs within our VA that can afford them their full benefits while they're going to school, and give them 100% and get them into training programs and into all kinds of places. But everybody's fighting over the pennies, right? And we're hiring more and more people to keep fighting over pennies. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should revamp it. Maybe we should grant their benefits and support them. And then you won't need so many people to do the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
And start the chaos.
Now, I made friends with an older couple some years back. And anyway, the lady, her son was over in the Gulf War. And when he got back, he got all kinds of sick. And anyway, all they got was excuses. You know, it was something that happened while they were over there, but they were saying, no, it's just, it's you, it's your body, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
I guess what they called it, Gulf War syndrome back then.
Yes.
What's
the burn
happened?
pit registry that we have now that you just seen in legislation, that was started as the Gulf War Registry,
Right.
Because of Gulf War syndrome. You know, it was a strange place to be, and I won't get into all of those kinds of things, but it was not necessarily as portrayed on the media in great degrees, at least in certain spots. So with that being said, a lot of people were hurt, and a lot of our warriors were absolutely exposed to many things. With the Gulf War Registry, I think it was a first attempt to try to right those wrongs. But then again, you know, things change, and leadership changes, X, Y, and Z, it just falls away because, well, I don't want them to get credit for it. I don't want this one to get credit for it. I don't want to make that program okay because that person started it. Just craziness, right? Absolutely, absolutely missing the core central vision and the mission of the VA, which is to serve the veteran.
That's where it should be bipartisan.
Right. You're absolutely putting and injecting your self-interest at this point. Mm-hmm. At that point, you're a dereliction to the duty that you have sworn as a civil servant, and you need to step aside and either let someone else take on that project or maybe get a different career. I mean, that would be okay with me at that point, you know, because your loyalties are at that time questionable to me. Mm-hmm. But that's a Dorothy Meindok thing. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. The burn pit registry, Gulf War illness, all the psychiatric stuff. The burn pits, we've got respiratory problems, immunological problems.
It's because you're smoking.
A lot of
right?
us.
It's because you're smoking. It's because you're a smoker, right? Is that what?
Always, right. But I didn't smoke when I had these problems, right?
Mhm.
I didn't smoke until I was after in the Navy, and I started realizing something seriously wrong with how I'm feeling, right?
But that's what
About,
they want you to believe is because you're smoking, not because
oh
of
my
burn
gosh,
pits.
yes. And here's the good one. Your knees only hurt because you're fat. Well, you know what? My knees in my medical record been hurting since I ran marathons and things in the military, and I wasn't fat. I'm fat now, and I'm sure that it probably doesn't help, right? But I'm telling you that we're not here to talk about the symptoms of today are where you get your rating. The connection goes to the root of where it started. And my connection is when I was not fat and I was 19 and had arthritis in my knees, right?
I can sympathize.
Right. Because when people who are active, that happens. And in the military, you're very active. But now that I'm 35, and I'm not 35, but this is when this happened. Now that I'm 35 and I'm overweight and depressed and on all of your pills and all of this other kind of stuff, and nothing's getting better, and I'm hurting all over, and my knees are killing me, and I'm trying to get your help, and you've got all the information that I've been service connected for my knees for this whole time. Because I'm asking you to help relieve my pain, suddenly I become a problem to somebody. And at that point, it's not because I'm in pain. There's no relief for it. There's none of that. Here's your plan to just lose weight. That's your only problem. Okay, so then I'll lose weight. It still hurts, right?
No, it doesn't go away.
You just go in these circles. If it's not the smoking, it's your weight, it's your this, it's your that. It's never, ever, ever looked at. And so when I get people who have those kinds of issues, especially where the people are just trying to run around the symptoms because they can't see the big picture because they haven't been trained properly, even though they might work at the VA, I try to send them to what's called RISC, which is WRIISC. That stands for the War Related Injury and Illness Service Center. And that is owned by VA. Right. As a matter of fact, it's a specialty clinic where they do all types of diagnostic research, and they have extraordinary access to every place the warrior has ever been or stepped foot. And they will do a 3 to 4 day, sometimes a week-long appointment in the 2 clinics that are nationwide. And these are scientists as well as doctors, epidemiologists, and things of that nature. And they go from head to toe and they can see your whole record. And then they write their opinion. Now that opinion is supposed to be pretty heavy in weight. But the problem is that even though they're doing their job, once we get the opinion and we, submit it to a regional office or to the primary care physician to help the veteran, they don't even know the own authority that they're looking at, which is basically, the people that are setting the standards and deciding what are presumptives for the entire nation, for every veteran in the world that is United States veteran. And here is their writing saying this veteran has these conditions. This veteran got these conditions when they were in the service. It's pretty much saying, help this veteran and get him service connected. But when you don't even look at it, if you don't know that you're looking at a letter from, I don't know, the president of the United States, right? You don't know it's from the president. It's just another letter to you. And that's what they do. They don't know. I just recently spoke to somebody in VA mental health care. And I'm not putting this person down because I don't believe it's that person's fault. But trying to get someone into the National Center for PTSD programs, right? Mm-hmm. And as I'm talking to this person, they don't even know where the National Center for PTSD is. They didn't know that it was part of the Veterans Administration, and they work in mental health for the Veterans Administration. And I wanted to say, could you go and look at some of the literature in your office, some of the publications from the office, from the federal office, the printing office, and stuff, and can just go look and see where they're citing. A lot of times they're citing the National Center for PTSD, which is Veterans Administration, and you don't know that. So when a veteran goes in and asks to be referred to those programs, those specialty programs for specialty care, because they believe it's a good fit for them by searching on the internet, like everyone tells them to, and they ask for a specific program, and that person just has never heard of it, even though they're the director of mental health in a large facility. There's a disconnect. There's a training problem. Something's wrong.
Exactly.
And that veteran then probably leaves and says, well, forget it. I'm not doing this anymore.
See, that's what I can't understand. I mean, I worked, like I said, I worked for the city. We had to go to training after so many months continuously. I want to say it was like 12 to 15 months that you had to continuously go back for whatever training they had. And they can't do that for people that are working in healthcare.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure about that either. And I think that goes, at least for VA purposes, goes back to the 30% rate. And if, for instance, one of our veteran advocate leaders in Beaumont, Texas, his name is Damien, and Damien Blanton, and he's very concerned about the fact that the VA just announced that they were going to hire like 1,800 more people for claims. Well, it's not that he thinks that they shouldn't, but he's worried at the fact, and so are other veteran leaders, that who's going to train them, because the ones doing the job right now aren't trained well and don't know what they're doing. I mean, when a veterans advocate has to show a person deciding issues on a veteran's claim where Vietnam is on a globe, and explain and show them how to Google the fact of terrain so that they can better understand what, jungle rot is, and that it's different from athlete's foot. You got to wonder what other claims slipped by before that person got there. And that's not even that VA workers' problem. That is a problem that they were never trained. You shouldn't be making claims on Vietnam veterans or any conflict, claim if you don't know where the territory is, you don't understand a little bit about what happened, without taking sides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
You can take sides when you go home and complain about whatever you think. But when you're sitting in the seat and dealing with somebody who was there doing their duty, you can't take sides.
That's right.
You can't judge that warrior. It's not allowed. It's bias. And you're going to be held to a higher standard if I get a chance to be a part of that, or any of the other veteran advocates that I know, because we just can't have that happen. It messes up everything.
Yeah. I can't fathom, and mind you, I mean, I worked in water and sewer for most of my career, and it was in all kinds of weather, whether it was hot as all get go, or it's below freezing. It could be pouring down rain and freezing outside and icicles hanging off everything. We still work.
That's right. You still worked because you were in civil service.
That's right. So it didn't matter if it was during the day or if it was all night long. Sometimes it was 3 days in a row without even going home. And
absolutely.
I developed all kinds of arthritis from doing that.
Yes.
I can't imagine what a soldier must be going through then.
I can't either, even though I am a veteran and I've got my own issues. Our combat vets, our special intelligence vets, and things of that nature. The guys that are on the ground and turn into on shore, and as well as on sea, in many instances, depending on what types of vessels and things that you're on. our submariners that are, excuse me, they're going to get mad, submariners, they are, they're down there 6 months to a year, you guys. Some of them have to share a bed with another person, 12 hours on, 12 hours off kind of thing. They don't even have their own 6-foot coffin space, as we would say in the military. And there's stress with that. There's stuff that happens with your body. And then to question them to death and put the burden on them to prove it in a system that oftentimes loses their records get burned up. We don't know what happened to them. We can't find them for all different kinds of other
I got a story
reasons.
About that, but I can't
all
talk
different
about
kinds
it
of
here.
other reasons. All of these things are outside of the control of the veteran.
Mhm.
And in a lot of cases, when they're in the state that they're in trying to get their benefits, as time goes on, it goes on to their caretakers or their wives or their husbands or their mom or their aunt or the guy across the street that just can't deal with watching a veteran have to live like this anymore. And they step in and they try to help. And then all that stress goes to them. The law states that the burden is not upon the veteran. The burden is upon our government. Yeah. And our government is at a 30% vacancy rate because of internal problems, corruption, mismanagement. We've got to clean it up. We've got to do things to fix it, help VA meet her mission. It's going to take, in my opinion, a lot of, for what that's worth, a lot of transparency, a lot of communication, a lot of getting things together and being open and honest about the realities of, VA, you got to be accountable sometimes, man. You won't lose sovereign immunity over it. I can promise you that. But if the VA wants to work with veterans and veterans want to work with the VA, it is absolutely possible. There is a language in between both of them where we can meet and understand each other better, have better meetings of the minds, help educate the public, help, and so that they can put their arms around veterans. Because I got to tell you, our countrymen, they're doing everything they can to support veterans. They really are. They're paying out a piece of their paychecks every time they get paid. Every penny they make is taxed in some way, right? I mean, that's the nature of our country. And a portion of that goes to veterans benefits. And that money is being mismanaged, misused, and abused. It's not going for our veterans, and you can see that. It's not going to help them. It's going to try to keep them out of the very coffers that would help them, that you're providing. And so I say, help VA meet her mission, help us revamp the VA, and we can do this. We can do this. We're America. We can do this.
I see different causes come up all the time, and we need awareness. And then after a few weeks, it's like everybody forgets again, and we need to stop doing that. And, yes. I know that when you get to the recruiting office, they're all like, oh, come on in, we'll take care of you. You got this, you got this, you got this. And then when your duty's over, you get the boot, and it's like, we just don't care anymore. Yeah. And I can sit here and I can talk the talk, but I will never know the frustrations that anybody military wise, what they go through. I can't fathom it. All I can do is try to do shows like this, bring awareness. I think we should do this more often. In fact, if you know anybody that would want to come on and talk about.
I've got Damien Blanton for you. Damien, you're going to love Damien. I'm going to get the two of you together. He is, well, we love rock and roll, right?
Oh yeah.
Damien is an absolute rock star. His story is unbelievably incredible. Your jaw is going to drop more than once. It's amazing that I have worked with one other veteran who is being afflicted as severely as this veteran in his process. And he's been fighting it, and he's a smart guy. And I think you're gonna like him a lot. He's gonna have to wear his sunglasses. He's legally blind. He's a legally blind veteran. So he's very sensitive to light. And I'll let him tell you his story on how hard that was to even get somebody to take seriously. And you know, the fact that he needs all different kinds of colors of shades, kind of like when somebody needs different panels because they're dyslexic. All of these light sensitivities that he experienced from being exposed to the different many things that he was exposed to. So I think you're going to love it. He's been fighting the VA. And when I say that, I'm not saying, you know, he's fighting our government or anything. Yeah. He's been having VA struggles for over a decade. And I think that he's going to be able to bring to light a lot more of this type of conversation. He is the founder and board member of a really powerful local nonprofit that is growing. And I just think he's going to be great on your show. I think you're going to like him a lot.
Well, he more than welcome. And let me say,
he's a straight up warrior. He's one of our best.
Bless him. All I can say is bless him. Bless all of you. And I'm going to say this, and I don't, the politicians on my side of the aisle and the other side of the aisle, we need to do better. That's the citizens, we need to do better. And those that are out there that are putting down our country and everything, shame on you, because there's people out there that have put their lives down for this country. And if only thing that I can do is to just open up this program and say, anyone, anytime wants to come on, wants to advocate, wants to just come on and just complain or just get anything off their chest. And
that'd be great.
Just the invitation is open.
You would like that. I think that you're going to like that. You're going to get a good response to that. And I'm so glad that you brought up some of this political process, because some of this awareness may end up, you know, needing to be talked to and talked about in Congress in some form or fashion. And in that event, you know, veteran advocate leaders, we will knock on everyone's door. And so it's not a red issue. It's not a blue issue. It's not a Trump issue. It's not a Biden issue. It is a United States veterans issue. We are all colors, creeds, sexes, ideas, professions. We are the fabric, microcosm of America. We would love your support. We thank you for your support here on this show. We have reached out to some of our senators, and we're looking hopefully to prepare some type of shotgun legislation. What that means is that it is supported by both sides of the House. We are open and willing to work with anybody who wants to work for the central focus of saving America's veterans, bringing them justice, bringing some accountability, and helping the VA meet her mission.
Well, this show is open to anyone that wants to come on and talk. And let's push these shows out there too. Let's get people watching it, and not for me, for my glory or the monetization or nothing.
I understand when people say that, because you know that's been something that I think was really hard for me to overcome too. Is, you know, I don't sit out here and talk about this stuff so that you like Dorothy Meindok, or so that you give me a thumbs up or a star or any of that stuff, right? I'm doing it because we have to do it. It's a conversation that must be had. Yeah. And I've always been a person that I'll stand up and do that. And I appreciate that you're the same kind of person that will stand up and do that. So thank you.
Of course. I want to do what I can, and we could probably figure out what the money that goes into the monetizations of these videos and give it to a group.
You know what? Anything that you want to give is great. That would be fantastic. We've got all kinds of wonderful organizations from one side of the nation to another, and every one of them needs help. So that'd be awesome.
Well, if there's any links that you can send me that I can put in the description, whether it's for advocate groups or, donation groups or, anything that you feel would be necessary that I can share, I want to put that in there. And I mean, unfortunately, our time's up, but it's not over.
It's okay.
It's not over.
It has been wonderful. Great. It's been such a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, I appreciate you. Seriously.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, we've actually found out that we were only a town over from each other in high school. Graduated the same year, everything, and
that's amazing. Yeah, I've got a couple of friends who might know you. I don't know if you know Don or Darren LaFawn.
Yes.
Yes. There you go. Well, Darren and I, we were really good friends in high school, and all ran in the same, headbanging hair band girls kind of, and the guys with guitars. We had a great time. It was a wonderful life. And I'm going to try to meet up with them very soon to help work some veteran issues up near Austin. So yeah, things are rolling, and it's like LaPorte love is coming.
Well, I want to put the word out for that, to promote it any way that I can. Anything that's going on, I want to help to promote it. So, please send it all my way. I'll be glad to do so.
We would love to have your help in promotion. Absolutely. Right. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
It would be my pleasure, honestly. But once again, it's the end of the show, and it's not over. It's not over.
No, sir. It is not over.
We're gonna push this all that we can. So thank you again. And anyone that's watching or listening to this, you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe and come back. And if you're regular to the channel, thank you for your support. I couldn't do what I do without you. And let's help these folks out. And so until the next time, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network